Hey, good afternoon, y'all. I want to talk to you today about transition success, and that's transitioning from the military to the civilian workforce. And with this brief slideshow, is just going to cover some quick tidbits and some basics that you need to understand when transitioning from the military and how to make that a successful transition. First off, in 2011, Congress enacted what's called the VOW Act, and that's the Veterans Opportunity to Work Act. And you can look it up as House Resolution 2433, and it mandates that all service members separating from the military attend a comprehensive training and preparation program prior to departure from the military. And this quote here from Representative Jeff Miller, who is the chairman of the House Committee on Veterans Affairs, stated, "I am committed to reducing the veterans' unemployment rate to below 5% over the next 2 years. They kept their vow to us. Now it's our turn to vow to help them." Who is eligible for transitioning? That's soldiers that's deployed and have a what we call a short time fuse from the time they return back from deployment. Soldiers that's participating in the IR program or reserves, ready reserves, National Guard, things of that nature, mobilizing, demobilizing. Physical is covering those that's in the Wounded Warrior Project or Warrior Transition Battalion / brigades. Soldiers that's going through evaluation boards such as a medical evaluation board or a medical review board. And soldiers who have family members that's participating in the Exceptional Family Member Program, and also covers DA civilians. What does ACAP consist of? Well, your chain of command and your chain of responsibility, that's officers and NCOs, they have the responsibility to properly counsel you on your goals and things to expect when you decide to separate from the military. That also includes preparation, pre-separation timeline from beginning to end, and that covers various things as to what your goals may be, how to implement those goals, those plans, etc. How long do you really need to for a transition process? Well, it all depends on your goals, but you need typically 18 months, no less than 12 months. Anything less than that, you're putting yourself behind a very short power curve. For retirees, they are authorized up to 24 months for transitioning. In the transition process, the ACAP covers individual MOS crosswalks. That's identifying your MOS to the related civilian jobs that may be out there in the sector. They go over your goals and your budget for the next year to see how much money you will need to live outside the military. Your transition plan is your plans that should be aligned with your goals and kind of helps poke holes into your plans to make sure you have everything covered and that you thought through everything. There are a series of in and out classes that you will attend. That's in and out meaning online and in the actual classroom environment. The interview process in practice covers how to go through an interview, what to say, what not to say, how to dress, how not to dress, and just basically overall questionings and teaching you how to answer those questions properly. Here's what I call the 3E paths, and that's education, entrepreneurship, and employment. In the education path, you want to consider yourself as to how you're going to finance those schools. That's either through financial aid, grants, loans, scholarships, or using your GI Bill. Knowing the difference between the Montgomery GI Bill and the post 9/11 GI Bill will help you tremendously. One pays just for your school costs, while the other covers other miscellaneous financial expenses. So take the time to research what type of GI Bill you have covered and which one will work out best for you. Your school selection. The school selection is what you want to check into most importantly. If it's a nationally accredited school or a regionally accredited school, will determine your transferability for your post-education goals. Your degree plan. Degree plans kind of range into what kind of job fields you can get into. Say, for example, if you're going for a criminal justice degree, you might not want to try to pursue getting a veterinarian job. So identify what it is that you want to do and select a degree plan that will best fit those goals. Trade schools and apprenticeship. If you decide you want to be a mechanic, you can go to trade school, go into automotive, being a mechanic and what have you. And there's programs out there that will accommodate that. Same thing with apprenticeship, nursing, engineering, and becoming a lawyer. If you elect to go the entrepreneur route, you can look into franchising. There's many companies out there that offer franchising, I guess you say, discounts and packages for veterans that's separating from the military. Places like UPS, McDonald's, Burger King. The best resource to research this best is GI Jobs magazine or Veteranpreneur magazine. Small businesses covers employees of less than 100 personnel. You can have a small chain, 1 to 3 locations. And if that's the route you choose to go, there's companies out there and also federal programs that will help you get that started. Large businesses, if you decide to open up the next Amazon, Walmart, corporations, Fortune 500, those are things that you can consider as well. Home-based businesses is working from home, internet, network marketing, affiliate marketing. So if that's something that you elect to do, then there's plenty of programs on the internet that you can look into and research to find out what best suits your needs. If you decide to take the employment route, just going from the military to another job, then consider your MOS or your current job in the military and see how that can apply to the civilian employment. The ability to transfer your experience from the military to the civilian workforce will be a tremendous help. You can look into being a contractor for companies that has a subcontract through the government, such as in Afghanistan, Kuwait, and other countries around the world. Become a DoD civilian working on military installations at the various in-processing, out-processing centers. And you can also look into privatized works like small security companies and such and whatnot. Next, you want to determine what kind of compensation package you want. Do you want to have a salary job, an hourly job, or a commission-based job? And what are the benefits packages associated with that, such as medical, dental, 401ks, IRA packages, stock options, investment plans, what have you. So those are things that you got to consider and need to take into account when you decide to go the employment route. Robert Kiyosaki, and he illustrates in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is a highly recommended book to pick up. He identifies there's 4 types of money makers in the world. You have your E, S, and B, and I. And I'll explain those here in a second. The E stands for employee. That's working for someone for life or till you retire. Self-employed, or the S, are home-based businesses or small business owners who has less than 500 employees, and over time and depending on the industry can lead to having a big business, which is the B. And the best thing about having big businesses is you have tax incentives, tax breaks, 500 more employees, and it gives you that time freedom and leisure to travel and do more networking, which will in turn give you residual income. Residual income meaning doing something one time and getting paid for it over a longer period of time. Then subsequently you want to become an investor or a mentor in the business world. An investor, when you have enough of being a small self-employee or a big business, you're now the mentor and you still continue to grow residual income. The resume. The resume says everything about you. It highlights all your accomplishments, your job history, your education history, your goals, your plans, etc. I recommend that you have a digital copy and a hard copy of your resume readily available, along with letters of character and letters of reference. And you can typically pick those up from your teachers, your previous employers, bosses, your squad leader, your platoon sergeant, first sergeant, sergeant major, so on and so forth. And I would recommend also, if you have a LinkedIn account or a Facebook account even, have them go on there and do a digital version of a letter of character and a letter of reference. That way your future employers or future administrators can go on and see what others have to say about you. The I Love Me book. The I Love Me book typically is a 3-ring binder, about 2 to 3 inches big, and it captures everything that you have done since you've been in the military. That's your certificates, diplomas, other resumes, different various things that you collected while you were in the military, and you have it cataloged in a book for employers or, like I said, administrators to kind of flip through and get an idea as to what you have done since you've been in the military. If you are on the social media world, you want to look at having your Facebook page. I wouldn't recommend your personal page, but have another page on Facebook that kind of highlights who you are and is more of a professional side of you. LinkedIn is a professional networking site that I highly recommend to people to utilize as a means for job marketing and job searches. Google Plus is another social media site that's becoming more prevalent these days in terms of networking and looking to connect with other people. Career Builder and Monster and Glassdoor, those websites there captures basically a digital version of your resume, and also jobs utilize that as a recruiting tool to find candidates that's best suitable for their company. So I would recommend those 3 sites there to build your resume, build your profile on, in the event that you decide to go into the job market. Budgets. Think about how much you're making now, and then what you'll make 6 months from now after you separate from the military, 1 year, and 3 years from now. How much do you need to live on? Family costs, self costs, etc. The largest financial mistake that's unaccounted for is your BAH, BAS, medical, dental, COLA, which is cost of living allowance, clothing allowance, your leave days, holidays, and let's not forget the organizational days. All these, the financial pieces, the BAH, BAS, medical, dental, COLA, and clothing allowance, those are automatically subtracted from your overall pay. So we kind of tend to forget that's the money that we're making and we're dependent on because we don't see it. So when you're transitioning out, you miss that piece of the pie when you're trying to calculate your finances and how much you need. So make sure you take those into account when you're trying to determine how much money you'll need to live on. Now, the leave days, depending on the job you go into and the career you might decide to venture into, you might not get a chance to accrue as many leave days as you did in the military. So be cognizant of that as well. Same thing with holidays. Don't always have 4-day weekends in the job market, or 3-day weekends, and those lovely organizational days where you just take the day off or 2 days off for GP. So something to consider, which leads into my next point. The grass isn't always green on the other side. It is a mirage. So you think you have it bad now while you're in the military, things can always be worse on the other side. Start preparing yourself for the post-military life 2 to 3 years before your ETS and your retirement. Work on and update your resume every 6 months or as new developments happen within your personal life that could be applicable to your resume. Research, 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 and then research again. And what I mean by that is jobs. Research those jobs that you want to get into. Research the career fields, benefits, and opportunities that's out there. Just because you may still have 5 years in the military now doesn't mean that you have to not check into and see what it is that you may want to get into. Start learning what it entails to get into that career or that job. And that way you're setting yourself up for success later on. Some key things that you might want to check into when looking at the transitioning process is the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the VFW, for those that have deployed, and or the American Legion if you never deployed. Those two organizations I highly recommend becoming a member of, as well as the Association of the United States Army for those that's in the Army. And I believe there's some associations that's affiliated with the other branches that you can join. And those two organizations help assist in job placement, education placement, scholarships, other benefits and opportunities for veterans or ex-military service members. Check into job fairs, career fairs, schools, a community in within your community, and your ACAP center for the different job opportunities and job hunt recruiting companies, and see what's out there. Heroes to Hired is a program that's becoming more prevalent these days as the war and the military starts to do its drawdown. Heroes to Hired is a program that helps veterans find jobs out there in the civilian sector. Check on Amazon for free ebooks. There's a lot of ebooks on how to write resumes, how to conduct interview, how to go through the interview process, what to look for and whatnot. So check around and just type it into the search engine under books for books on the resumes and jobs and stuff like that, interviews, and you'll find a plethora of them on there. You got any questions or anything that you might need assistance on, you can always hit me up at rpurham@gmail.com. That's rpurham@gmail.com. I also invite you to check out my website at rpurham.com and look around and see if there's some things that you could find some assistance to you. And you can also check out my book on Amazon. It's called The New You, Now Equipped with Wisdom. And it covers a pretty in-depth instructions, I guess you could say, on the transition process as well. Talk to you later and see you at the top.